Hey, all, Michael Lunsford here, Citizens for New Louisiana. You know, I mentioned, I think on our social platforms, and I sent an email to all of our 23,000 email subscribers the other day, that Amanda Jones, the librarian that sued us back in 2022, has just, we won again in the First Circuit Court. Basically, she sued us. She wanted a gag order, so we couldn't talk about library issues. And why she didn't want the Transparency Organization talking about library issues is anyone's guess. But we've got a great friend. You know, we do research. We're really good at it. We don't stay on this library issue because I think I get tired of stuff. I like to move around a little bit. I think you like variety too. After all, we don't go to the same restaurant every single day to eat the same exact thing, right? We mix it up, right? So that's where we are. We're moving around, but we're back on the library. So if you're not a fan of this issue, I apologize. But what Dan Kleinman found is nothing short of shocking. So back in March of 2021, before any of the other junk happened and we got sued and all of that, we have a podcast episode from, it sounds like the Teamsters Union, but it's actually called School Librarians United. Apparently it's a library union. It's a podcast run by one person. But Amy Herman is her name. March from 2021. Let's listen to introductions just so you know this is Amy and also Amanda Jones. Listen in.
Welcome to episode 118 of School Librarians United. I'm your host, Amy Herman. I'm so excited today to be sharing conversation with old podcasting friends, Amanda Jones. Welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so there we have it. Here's the podcast. It's put on by Amy Herman. It is called School Librarians United. Not Public Librarians, School Librarians United. And, of course, introducing Amanda Jones, the woman who sued us. Anyway, let's continue.
But I think that as a modern school librarian, you just got to jump in. And you've got to, take some risks. Yes, be fearless, take some risks. Another program that I started that happened over the summer with all of the social unrest and the issues in the news. I am in southern Louisiana. And I have to be very delicate about this because I don't want to be. Let me just say my district is not modern. For that, I don't know how to say it. And by district, I don't mean my school. I mean my community and some of the thinking. And there's some of the thinking is still back in the 50s.
So we've heard this language before. Your thinking is still in the 50s. This is old-fashioned. You shouldn't be thinking these things. And this is common with the drag queen storytime stuff we saw back when we, very early on in this organization, we stopped government-funded drag queen storytime in Lafayette. As far as I know, we're still the only organization in Louisiana for sure, and perhaps the nation, that has actually blocked a drag queen storytime event, which, honestly, let's face it, it's a drag show for 3-year-olds is what it is. But this was the language you kept hearing. You're so old-fashioned. Why would you be against this? And it's like, why would you want to sexualize children at 3 years old? This is weird. But anyway, they turned the tables on us, right? But if you listen, there was a very long pause while she tried to figure out how to say we're a bunch of troglodytes because we don't like this junk, or whatever she's about to tell us about. We're going to get to that here in a second. They also take risks. What are we taking risks on? Let's continue.
And so I knew that I wanted to teach my students some things, but I couldn't outright say it. This is what I'm teaching. So I developed a program called the Mesh Society to incorporate media literacy, which we all should be teaching anyway, but ethics, sociology, and history, but infuse some social justice in there without outright teaching social justice, if you read between the lines of what I'm saying. Say it.
So here we go. We're teaching my students some things, but without outright saying it. And what were some of those things? She says, well, we have our standard stuff, and this is kind of the Common Core that we talked about years ago, mixed in with the social emotional learning, which is not allowed in Louisiana, combined with the diversity, equity, inclusion stuff, right? We're going to take standard, what everyone accepts, and we're going to interweave social justice in there. Those are not my words. That's what was said right here in this podcast back in 2021 before most of the trouble started. Well, let's continue.
I think a modern school librarian pushes things like graphic novels and audiobooks and social justice, and you focus on what you're reading and not how many. So the Mesh Society program, it encourages, and it's completely optional, it encourages the students to read one book from each of those categories. And then they have to do a flip grid and tell me what they've learned. What ideas have changed from reading these books?
So here we go. We're encouraging children to read books about, what are the categories? Social justice was one of the categories. And then, so instead of me teaching it directly, and that's going to come here in a minute, instead of me teaching this directly, I'm just giving these kids these materials for them to learn on their own, interwoven with acceptable materials to kind of conceal what we're teaching. Do you see how that works? Well, let's listen to the rest of this explanation here. Very interesting stuff.
Because I can't teach sexual harassment and consent at a 5th grade school. My community would just, even though it needs to be taught, but they can read Maybe He Just Likes You by Barbara D., which is written on a level for the age group of my students, and I can encourage them to read that, and they can tell me what they have learned themselves.
See, there it is. Encourage them to read materials that propagate this worldview, this social justice worldview, and just pour it a little bit at a time into the kids. And who's paying for this? These are public school librarians. Public school means your tax dollars are paying for this. Who's paying attention to this, y'all? I mean, we're paying attention to it. Are you paying attention to what's going on in your schools? I know we hear about this, the DEI and all of this stuff, but have you actually heard a school teacher from Louisiana saying they're doing this? We're providing it. Thank you, Dan Kleiman, for pointing this out. This is fabulous. Listen to Amy Herman, who's going to applaud this. Listen.
I think that's amazing. I think that you have found a way to thread the needle and do it in a way that gives your students the benefit of all of the resources you can bring together, and do so in a way that is not going to agitate and stir up and rile up your parent base.
So you're hearing this. You are presenting information that would normally rile up the parents in your area, but you found a way to do it so that no one's the wiser, no one makes any noise, there's no trouble. Shh, don't tell anybody. That's what's going on. Again, I'll say, I'm not taking a position on this stuff. I'm just letting you know, is this okay with you? Number one. Number two, Amanda Jones, again, is the former president from last year, president of the Louisiana Association of School Librarians, I believe is the name of the organization. So the school librarians, if they're unionized in Louisiana, or they have resources that they use, they're getting them from this organization, the Association of School Librarians. And their head of that organization is talking about how we can teach the little kids in middle school stuff that their parents don't approve of without creating much of a disturbance. Leave your comments in the notes below. If you're on the website, you have to sign in and become a subscriber to do that. It's free. Social media, obviously, you can comment, respond, let us know what you think. I really want to know what you guys, especially if you're in Livingston Parish. I want to know what you think of this. Until next time, keep doing it. Keep doing your own research. Keep following things. Follow the thread all the way to the end, and share some of that with us too. Appreciate it. Till next time.